I need to be transparent for a moment. I may be a film student, but at this school and with this minor, I'm gonna have to bring in some church teachings. The social teachings of the church emerged in the late 19th century as the world reckoned with the Industrial Revolution, the coinciding dramatic economic shift, and as the dignity of work and workers was under threat. I think that now, during another economic shift into the platform economy, is the perfect time to examine the dignity of work and workers, especially those using Patreon.
Patrons. Patreon.
Patreon.
Patreon. The Patreons.
Patreon.com. Patreon.
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 It's like having a salary.
The artist shan't make money.
Really expensive for us.
And resource intensive.
This isn't actually super cheap to make. And it's working. It's not like perfect yet, but it's really working.
Jack, it's good to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Let's rock.
Let's just start by talking about work abstractly. Work is a good in our lives. It should be, at least. Sure, work is labor. Labor is toil. Toil isn't fun. However, it's through work that we should be able to use our abilities to secure and sustain a rich and fulfilling life. We're made in the image of God, and God was a creator. Thus, work is essential to the human experience. We should work because our participation in society is good. It promotes the common good, the health of society that we should all contribute to and benefit from. We should work because it allows us to develop ourselves and our skills. Most importantly, we work to earn a wage that should allow us to build and secure a fulfilling life outside of work. Work is a good that becomes warped when it isolates us from others, when it doesn't respect our natural abilities, and when it doesn't provide a just wage that can protect our livelihoods outside of work. So back to the platform economy and Patreon. When we work, when we expect a just wage, there are different rights and responsibilities that both employers and employees have. They become more difficult to define in the platform economy, where many workers are self-employed, but CST still has a lot to offer on the subject. For independent creators on Patreon, they're both employer and employee of their own creative business. They're simply obligated to keep working, to create what they say they will create. They owe this to themselves and to their dependents to make an income, and they owe this to their patrons who fund their work. This is an agreement made when a patron subscribes to a creator. Personally, I don't think creators owe Patreon anything. Patreon supplies the platform, and they take a cut of the creator's profits. This is actually a pretty sweet deal for Patreon, but it doesn't mean they aren't excused from any responsibility. Patreon is an indirect employer of these artists. An indirect employer creates systems that promote workers' dignity and ensure they thrive. Patreon is obligated to do this based simply on the dignity of the workers that use their platform. They should be deeply concerned for the wellness and success of their creators. Even more, the creators are the reason Patreon is growing and profiting. So even if Patreon is not a direct employer, they ought to be using their immense influence over the platform to ensure the success and security of their artists. Briefly, I have to say that the idea of an indirect employer is much broader and inclusive. The state, governments creating labor policies, have a major responsibility to all workers, and economic systems should be primarily concerned with the objective rights of the worker. Upholding the dignity of workers is more important than the pursuit of maximum profit. I also have to include the fact that we, everyday viewers and consumers of content, are also indirect employers. Whether we're patrons or not, our attitudes towards workers and how we support them factors into our roles as indirect employers. And I do believe that if we're regular consumers, regular beneficiaries of art being created by independent artists, we are obligated to both advocate for them and offer our patronage if possible. As indirect employers, Patreon and ourselves alike should have the utmost interest in ensuring the rights of workers to all independent creators using Patreon's platform. many of which are not being upheld, protected, or even considered. Don't be shocked, but workers, all workers, you included, are deserving of the following: affordable or free healthcare, a pension or some retirement security, other social securities for illness, injury, unemployment, or other unexpected disasters, decision-making opportunities within the business or company, the ability to unionize and bargain collectively, to take time to rest, meaning regular hours, time off, and vacations, and just wages. Just wages are a key marker of successfully upholding the rights of a worker. The Higgins Labor Program at the University of Notre Dame is doing great work exploring and defining the just wage, particularly how it's different from a minimum wage or a living wage. A just wage is non-discriminatory. It enables asset building, it's not excessive, and it provides social securities for workers and their households. It also reflects participation by workers and considers performance, qualification, and type of work. Basically, a just wage promotes a decent life for the worker and their household. Remember, work is good because through it, you should be able to secure enough to do other things, to live your life. A decent life is a life unobsessed with work and lived outside the workplace. When not working, you take time to raise a family, to socialize, to develop skills not being used at work, to participate in your culture and community, and to just rest. I think Patreon's corporate language supports taking independent artists very seriously as workers, as they should. They were founded by a creator who knows the trials and insecurities of that career. And they say they want the starving artist to disappear, to make creator a normal and respected profession, a profession that fits into their new creative economy. I too want a true second renaissance, but I believe that in order to do so, Patreon as a company needs to familiarize themselves with the holistic concerns of workers, the shortcomings of their platform, and the rights of workers they aren't protecting.